The first thing Sophia felt was cold. Not the kind that could be fixed with blankets or warm hands, but a deep, creeping cold that wrapped itself around her ribs and settled in her spine. Her eyelids fluttered open with effort, scraping against dryness and years of disuse, revealing a ceiling that was too white, too sterile, too clean. Lights buzzed softly overhead. Machines hummed beside her. Her throat burned like sandpaper. Her fingers twitched as if learning how to move again. Panic bloomed quietly, then all at once. Something was wrong. Everything was wrong. She tried to sit up, but her body screamed, 1,000 needles piercing through muscles that hadn't been asked to function in years. Years. The thought struck like thunder. A beeping monitor sped up in time with her heartbeat. Footsteps approached rapidly. Then a face hovered into view, pale, unfamiliar, tear-streaked. "She's awake," the woman whispered, her voice trembling, like she wasn't sure it was real. Others flooded in. Doctors. Nurses. Voices layered over voices. Words like miracle, coma recovery, neural stabilization. But all Sophia could hear was the echo of that first phrase, "she's awake," and the silence of the year she'd lost. 3 years. She had been asleep for 3 years. Time had passed without her. The world had continued spinning, and she had missed it. Her parents cried when they arrived. They looked older, thinner, haunted in a way she didn't remember. They kissed her forehead like she might disappear. But there was something strange in their eyes, relief tinged with unease. They didn't tell her everything. Not yet. Not about the world she'd returned to. Not about the mark. Not about Riley. That came later. 2 days into her rehabilitation, Sophia noticed the change. It started with a glow beneath the skin of her wrist, subtle at first, then pulsing with heat, forming a symbol she didn't recognize, elegant and ancient. And then a name appeared. Not hers. Riley Chun. The name flared like a brand across her skin, seared into her like a cruel joke. Riley Chun. Her heart stuttered with disbelief. Her old rival. Her competition. The woman who had made every class in college a battlefield. They had fought for grades, scholarships, awards. Never overtly, but always with cold smiles and sharpened words. Sophia had loathed her. Loathed the way she always had the right answer, the perfect project, the confidence that made everyone else shrink. Riley was everything Sophia hated in a person. Smug, controlled, brilliant, untouchable. And now they were, what? Connected? Bonded? The staff wouldn't explain. Only murmurs about pair-matching protocols and compatibility scores and post-coma integrations. None of it made sense. Until Riley walked into the room. She looked different, sleeker, sharper, like someone who had learned how to fight and had done so often. Her once long hair was now shoulder-length and blunt. Her black clothes contrasted sharply against the soft pastel walls. And her expression, it wasn't smug. It was tired, guarded. "You're awake," she said quietly, her voice deeper than Sophia remembered, huskier. Sophia stared at her like she was hallucinating. "And you're still irritating," she rasped. Riley blinked. Then, was that a smile? No, not quite. Just a flicker. "Nice to know the coma didn't change your personality," she replied, stepping closer. "I have questions," Sophia said, forcing her weak body to sit up straighter. "A lot of them. Starting with why your name is glowing on my skin." Riley didn't flinch. "You're matched," she said, like it was obvious. "Bonded. To you?" Sophia's voice cracked with disbelief. "There has to be a mistake. We hated each other." Riley's eyes darkened, something unspoken flashing in them. "It's not a mistake." "Explain it," Sophia demanded. "Now." Riley crossed her arms. "It's not that simple. You've been gone for 3 years, Sophia. Everything's different. Then make me understand." Riley hesitated, something shifting behind her eyes. For the first time since she'd arrived, Sophia saw it, vulnerability. Just a glimpse. "They'll tell you some of it. Enough to get by. But there are things they won't say. Things only I know. Because I was there when it happened. Because I was the one who," she trailed off. "The one who what?" Sophia snapped. But Riley just shook her head and turned to leave. Get stronger first. Then we'll talk. The door shut softly behind her, leaving Sophia boiling with frustration and full of questions that buzzed like hornets under her skin. Over the next few days, Sophia was moved into a recovery facility. It looked like a luxury wellness retreat, floor-to-ceiling windows, peaceful music, soft-spoken staff, but it felt like a cage. Cameras in every corner, wrist scans for every door. Other patients with glowing marks. Everyone seemed to know something she didn't. And when she asked about her bond, they all said the same thing. You'll adapt soon. Just don't fight it. She wanted to fight it. She wanted to scream and tear the mark from her skin and go back to before. But there was no before anymore. Only this new reality. Only Riley, who kept visiting her. Not often. Not long. But always at the right moment. When the walls felt too tight. When the nightmares woke her up shaking. When the silence became unbearable. She never explained anything. Just sat beside her. Sometimes in silence. Sometimes with a dry joke or a brief update from the world outside. She was different now. Softer around the edges. But still infuriating in that cool, unreadable way. And Sophia hated that part of her was starting to need those visits. Crave them. Like oxygen. One night, after a particularly brutal therapy session, Sophia snapped. Why are you even here, Riley? She asked, voice sharp. Pity? Guilt? Some twisted sense of duty. Riley looked at her for a long, quiet moment. Then she said, because I never stopped thinking about you. The words landed like a blow. Unexpected. Raw. Real. Sophia stared at her, heartbeat rising. What happened while I was gone? She whispered. Riley looked away, jaw tight. Too much. Then tell me. Not yet. Why not? Because once I do, she said softly, nothing will ever be the same again. Sophia didn't sleep that night. Not because of pain, but because for the first time in 3 years, she felt something stir inside her. Not fear. Not confusion. Something deeper. Hotter. Dangerous. She didn't know what it was yet, but it had Riley Chen's name written all over it. Sophia had always believed in logic, in cause and effect, in the structure of things, form, function, foundation. She had built her entire life on the idea that control was possible, that if she worked hard enough, planned precisely enough, she could mold her future into exactly what she wanted. But now? Now her future was something she'd woken up inside of, twisted beyond recognition, with no blueprint, no framework, and no say in the design. Every time she glanced at the name glowing softly beneath the skin of her wrist, Riley Chen, she felt like screaming. She had never chosen Riley, would never have chosen her. Not then. Not now. And yet, something ancient and incomprehensible had chosen for her. The mark burned some nights. Not with pain, but with heat. As if it were responding to something unseen. Her dreams were fragmented things, pieces of memories she didn't remember living, flashes of moments that made no sense. She saw eyes in the dark, felt fire on her skin, heard a voice low, desperate, familiar, whispering her name like a prayer. And always, always Riley's face, watching her from the edge of every dream, unreadable and too close. Sophia tried to dismiss it, tried to focus on recovery, physical therapy, mental evaluations, integration classes. But everywhere she turned, there was Riley, watching, waiting, always just close enough to be present but far enough to remain untouchable. Until the day Sophia broke. You're hiding something from me, she said, cornering Riley in the sunlit garden outside the center, where cameras didn't seem to follow. A lot of things, actually. Riley didn't deny it. Of course she didn't. You're not ready. I'm awake. I've been awake for weeks. I've been asking questions no one will answer. Don't you dare tell me I'm not ready. Riley tilted her head. You don't remember the bond, do you? The question stopped Sophia cold. What? The moment it happened. The match. The alignment. Riley's voice dropped, heavy with something unspoken. You don't remember the night you woke up? Sophia's breath caught. What about it? Riley stepped closer. Too close. The space between them crackled, as if the air had suddenly turned electric. You said my name, she murmured. First thing. Before you even opened your eyes.
You said it like you needed me.
Like you'd known me your whole life. That's not possible, Sophia whispered, but her voice wavered. I wouldn't. But you did, Riley said, eyes locked on hers. You reached for me. Sophia staggered back, as if the memory itself had weight. Her pulse raced. That doesn't mean anything. It could have been a dream. A glitch. A side effect of the coma. You can lie to yourself all you want, Riley said quietly. But your body knows. The bond is real, Sophia. Whether you like it or not. That night, Sophia sat on the edge of her bed and stared at the mark until her eyes blurred. She tried to imagine a version of herself that had ever reached for Riley, that had ever wanted her. She couldn't. But she also couldn't ignore the way her skin warmed when Riley was near. The way her breath hitched when Riley looked at her too long. It wasn't just irritation anymore. It hadn't been for a while. The next day, the facility announced a mandatory evaluation, bond compatibility verification. All newly awakened individuals with active pair marks were to undergo a synchronization protocol. Sophia's gut twisted.
She didn't like the sound of that.
And she liked it even less when they told her Riley would be participating. Is this a test? She asked the attendant. Or a punishment? The woman only smiled. It's a chance for understanding. Trust the bond. Sophia didn't trust anything. Least of all something invisible that had tied her to a woman she used to fantasize about strangling with a laptop cord during group projects. But when they led her into the evaluation chamber, a glass-paneled room with dim lighting and no furniture, and Riley was already there, waiting, arms crossed, back straight, tension radiating from her like heat, Sophia's heart betrayed her. It stuttered, tripped, burned. Don't start, Riley said before she could speak. I didn't choose this either. Then we're even, Sophia snapped. But the words lacked heat. The chamber door sealed with a hiss. Lights dimmed further. A low frequency filled the air, almost imperceptible, but enough to make the hair on her arms rise. And then the mark on her wrist flared. So did Riley's. Glowing in sync, matching pulses of light. Sophia felt something shift inside her. A pull. Not physical, not emotional, something deeper, primal. She tried to fight it, to hold herself still, but her feet moved. She stepped forward. So did Riley. Their marks glowed brighter. The room felt warmer. The frequency grew louder. Sophia reached out without realizing it. Her fingers brushed Riley's. Heat exploded through her chest. Not pain, not desire. Something else. Memory. Not hers. Or not just hers. A field under stars. Hands in her hair. A whispered promise. You'll come back to me. Her knees buckled. Riley caught her. What the hell was that? Sophia gasped, heart racing. Riley didn't answer. She looked pale. Shaken. It's starting, she said instead. The bond's waking up. You're remembering. Pieces, at least. Remembering what? Riley held her gaze. Us. Sophia wanted to laugh. Scream. Cry. Anything but feel the heat spreading through her chest like wildfire. She shoved Riley back. We were never an us. Riley didn't flinch. Then explain why you keep dreaming about me. Sophia froze. How do you? The bond isn't one-sided. I see what you see. When it's strong enough. Sophia backed away, heart pounding. Get out. Sophia, get out. Riley left. Not angry. Not smug. Just sad. That was worse somehow. Sophia stood alone in the room, breathing hard, trembling. The lights returned to normal. The hum stopped. But the burning in her wrist remained. And for the first time, she wasn't sure if she wanted it to go away. That night, she didn't dream of fire. Or shadows. Or chaos. She dreamed of Riley's lips brushing her forehead, of fingers tangled in hers, of warmth. And it felt like coming home. Sophia didn't speak to Riley for 3 days. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't trust herself. Not her thoughts, not her feelings, not the heat that curled in her stomach every time she remembered that synchronization room, the way their marks had pulsed together like twin heartbeats, the way Riley had held her like she mattered, like she had always mattered. That scared her more than anything else. It was easier to stay away. Easier to throw herself into physical therapy and mental stimulation modules and integration workshops where other coma survivors shared horror stories about waking up to find themselves bonded to strangers. Or worse, people they once knew but no longer remembered. None of them, however, had anything resembling Sophia's situation. No one else had a bond with someone who had once been their rival, their enemy. No one else burned with rage, and something that looked far too much like longing every time that person entered a room. Because, yes, Riley came anyway. She didn't speak, didn't push, just appeared, sat in the same corner of the recovery garden, or the edges of Sophia's therapy sessions, or silently handed her a cup of coffee she didn't ask for. Always black. Always the way she used to drink it during those endless college nights they spent in competition, seated across from each other in libraries that smelled like dust and ambition. Sophia hated that she remembered that. She hated that Riley remembered it too. On the fourth day, Sophia snapped. She found Riley in the West Atrium, where soft jazz played and fake sunlight poured through tinted glass. "Are you following me?" she asked sharply. Riley looked up from the tablet in her hands, unreadable as always. "This is a public space. Don't play dumb." "I'm not." "Then explain why I can't breathe when you're in the same room," Sophia hissed. "Why my skin feels like it's burning. Why I can't sleep without dreaming of you." Riley blinked, slowly. "That's the bond. I don't accept that. You don't have to. It's happening anyway." Sophia sat down across from her, ignoring the tremor in her limbs. "You said something starting. That I'm remembering. I want the truth. No more vague warnings or cryptic bullshit. Tell me everything." Riley studied her for a long, heavy moment. "Fine," she said at last, voice low. "But once I do, there's no going back." "Was there ever?" Sophia shot back. Riley didn't smile. She folded her tablet, set it aside, and leaned forward. "After the accident, your accident, there was a lot of debate about what to do with you. You were changing. Even before the coma. Your energy signatures were fluctuating. Your compatibility scores were off the charts. No one had ever seen numbers like yours. When the system scanned you again during resuscitation, it reacted. It initiated a bond. And it chose me." Sophia stared at her, heart pounding. "You make it sound like the system is alive." "Some think it is. Some think it's just an interface. Others think it's something older. Older than all of us. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that it recognized something between us. Something neither of us saw, or maybe refused to see." Sophia shook her head. "We hated each other." "We competed," Riley corrected. "But hate? That's not what I saw." "Don't rewrite history." "I'm not. I'm telling you that while you were asleep, I asked to be near you. Fought to stay in the program. They didn't want me involved. Said it was too personal. But I stayed. I watched over you. Every week. Every scan. Every shift in your vitals. Because I couldn't stay away." Sophia's throat closed. "Why?" "Because I think I always knew," Riley whispered. "Even before the bond. There was something between us. Something I was too proud or too scared to admit." "You're lying." "Then tell me why your mark burns when I'm gone. Tell me why you can feel when I'm hurt. Because I know you do. I felt it the night they tried to pull me from the program. You woke up screaming." Sophia stood too fast. The room spun. She caught herself on the edge of the table. Riley stood too, instantly at her side, hands hovering like she wanted to touch but didn't dare. "Get away from me," Sophia said, but her voice shook. "I can't do this. I won't be part of some destiny experiment. This isn't about destiny. It's about truth." "No, it's about control. You always needed to win. Even now. You think this proves you were right. That we were always meant to be. Well, screw that. I don't believe in fate. I believe in choice. Riley stepped closer, eyes burning. Then choose me. What? Choose to trust me. Choose to let me tell you the rest. Sophia hesitated. There it was again, that terrifying vulnerability in Riley's voice. That quiet ache underneath all the arrogance. Why does it matter so much to you? She whispered. Because I'm the reason you were in that accident, Riley said. The world tilted. Silence roared in her ears. What did you say? I didn't cause it, but I triggered it. I pushed too hard. I said something. You left angry, distracted. You didn't see the vehicle until it was too late. I blamed myself. Every single day. I stayed because I had to make it right. I stayed because I couldn't live with the idea that the last thing you felt before going under was rage toward me. Sophia couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
She turned and walked away.
Fast. Blind.
Her mark burned like fire. That night, she didn't sleep. She didn't dream of Riley's hands or lips or laughter. She dreamed of headlights, of a voice screaming her name, of pain. And when she woke up, she wasn't alone. Riley sat in the dark corner of her room, head bowed. You should hate me, she said. Sophia didn't reply. She just stared at the woman she had once called her enemy, who now looked more broken than she had ever imagined Riley Chin could be. And something inside her cracked. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But the beginning of something far more dangerous. Understanding. The silence between them wasn't cold. It was heavy.
Thick.
Breathing. It sat in the corner of the room like a ghost neither of them dared to name. Riley didn't move. She sat with her elbows on her knees, hands clenched, staring at the floor like she might fall through it if she looked away. Sophia hadn't spoken in hours. Not since the confession. Not since the words "I'm the reason you were in that accident" had carved themselves into her chest like a blade. She didn't know what to feel. Anger, maybe.
Shock.
But also something more dangerous, something that curled behind her ribs and whispered in her bones. She stayed. Riley could have walked away, could have buried her guilt and pretended the bond meant nothing. But she hadn't. She'd watched, waited, protected, for years. And no one had told Sophia. No one had told her that behind the perfect grades and quiet competition was a woman who had unraveled slowly in the shadows, breaking piece by piece every day. Sophia didn't wake up. Why did you never tell them? Sophia asked at last, her voice hoarse. Riley looked up. Her eyes were bloodshot, rimmed with exhaustion. What would it have changed? You were still in a coma. Nothing could undo that. But it wasn't your fault. Riley flinched.
It was.
I pushed you. I made you angry. You were distracted. That was enough. That's not the same as causing it. It is to me. Sophia exhaled, fingers twitching with the need to do something. To reach out, maybe. To touch the mark on her wrist that still pulsed faintly, like a second heartbeat. Tell me what happened that night. Riley closed her eyes for a long moment, then nodded. We were in the studio. Final project submissions. You remember how competitive it got.
Sophia did.
She remembered the way the air used to feel electric between them. How every word had a double meaning. How every stolen glance lingered too long. We fought. Again. Riley continued. You accused me of copying one of your concepts. I snapped. Said something cruel. I don't even remember what. Just that your face, God, Sophia, I've never seen you look at me like that. Like I'd broken something inside you. She swallowed hard. You left. I tried to follow, to apologize, but I was too late. The accident happened blocks away. Sophia looked down at her hands. They didn't feel like hers anymore. Nothing did. And then, they rushed you into surgery. You were dying. But something strange happened. During resuscitation, the system scanned you, standard protocol for biocompensation, and it initiated a pairing sequence. They told me later that the mark chose me. That I was the only one with a matching signature. But that's not how it's supposed to work, Sophia said slowly. Pairing is supposed to be optional. A mutual selection. Riley gave a bitter smile. That's what we thought. But the system's evolving. It doesn't always wait for consent anymore. Sometimes, it just knows. The word lingered in the air, full of things Sophia didn't want to acknowledge. Because deep down something in her had known too. Even before the accident. Even before the bond. There had always been a thread between them, taut and invisible. A current. A pull. But she'd been too proud. Too afraid. And what about now? She asked. Now that I'm awake? Riley hesitated. Now the bond is stabilizing. Which means the connection will deepen. You'll feel things. So will I. Emotions, thoughts, even physical sensations. Eventually memories. What kind of memories? Ones that don't belong to this lifetime. Sophia blinked. What are you talking about? Riley stood slowly, walking toward the window. The sky outside was dark, clouded. Storms brewed in the distance. There's a theory that bonded souls aren't just chemically matched, that they're reincarnated, drawn together life after life. Some say it's destiny. Others say it's cosmic punishment. But when two people are bonded this deeply, across time, they start to remember things. Not just from this life. From others. Sophia's heart thudded painfully. You think that's what's happening to me? I know it is. It's happening to me too. What do you remember? Riley turned back toward her, and for the first time, Sophia saw fear in her eyes. Fire. You dying. Over and over. Jesus, Sophia whispered. And me. Stars. Your voice. The way it always feels like you're slipping through my fingers. Sophia pressed her palms to her face, trembling. This is insane.
No.
This is truth. And it's coming for us whether we like it or not. Sophia didn't respond.
Couldn't.
Because a strange ache was blooming in her chest, a familiarity that had no place in logic. And that night, the dreams changed. She was no longer watching from afar. She was there, in places she'd never seen, wearing clothes she'd never worn, speaking in languages she didn't recognize but understood. And always Riley was there. Sometimes her ally. Sometimes her enemy. But always present. Always close. When she awoke, sweat-slick and shaking, she wasn't surprised to find Riley standing at her door. I felt it too, Riley said quietly. We've done this before. Dozens of times. Different names. Different worlds. But it's always you. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed. How does it end? Badly, Riley said, voice flat. It always ends with you dying. So why try again? Because this time, Riley said, stepping closer, I'm going to change it. Sophia looked up at her, pulse wild. You really believe that?
Yes.
Because this time you woke up. The space between them was unbearable. The air felt charged, thick with electricity and something far more dangerous. And when Riley sat beside her, close but not touching, Sophia didn't move away. She let the silence settle between them, warm now, no longer a weapon. Just breath.
Just being.
For the first time since waking up, Sophia didn't feel lost. She felt tethered.
Uncertain, yes.
But anchored. And it terrified her. Because despite everything she'd fought to believe, logic, control, reason, none of it could explain the way her soul seemed to lean toward Riley's. None of it could deny the way their marks now glowed in sync whenever they were near. And deep down, she was beginning to understand the truth Riley had accepted long ago. That their story hadn't started in a hospital bed, or in a college classroom, or even in this lifetime. It had started long before that. And it wasn't over yet. It started with a scent. Sharp, metallic, unfamiliar. Sophia smelled it first as she was walking through the south corridor of the facility, just past the recovery wing, where the white walls always looked a little too clean and the air felt too still. It was faint like ozone, like burnt copper, and it set every nerve in her body on edge. She paused, turning her head slowly, eyes scanning for anything out of place, but the hallway was empty. Cameras blinked lazily overhead. Her mark pulsed once, a faint glow under her sleeve. And then the smell vanished. Gone like a dream. Sophia shook her head, blaming the nausea on stress or lack of sleep. But deep down, she knew better. Something was changing. The bond had grown stronger. Faster than the doctors predicted. Now she could sense Riley even when she wasn't in the room, like a gravity in her bones, pulling quietly at her attention, her breath, her thoughts. She could feel Riley's tension from across the building. Could almost hear her heartbeat if she focused hard enough. And worse, she didn't want to resist it anymore. That night, she found herself outside Riley's quarters, unsure how she got there, heart pounding like a drum in her throat. The door opened before she could knock. Riley stood barefoot, wearing a simple black tank top and loose pants, hair damp from a shower. Face unreadable. You felt it too, didn't you? Sophia didn't answer right away. She just walked in, brushing past her, pacing the room like a storm contained. Something's wrong. I can feel it.
The air.
The way people are looking at me lately. Like they're expecting something. Or waiting. Riley closed the door, arms crossed. They are. Sophia turned sharply. You knew. I suspected. And you didn't tell me? I didn't want to scare you until I was sure. Sophia's laugh came out cold. Too late for that. Riley moved toward her slowly. They think the bond is unstable. That it's progressing too fast. That it's reacting to external forces. What forces? They don't know. Or maybe they do and won't say. But it's not natural. Not normal. What is normal anymore? Sophia whispered. I have dreams that don't belong to me. I wake up with bruises I didn't get. My emotions aren't my own. Half the time, I don't know if I want to punch you or... She cut herself off, breath catching. Riley stepped even closer. Or what? Sophia didn't look at her.
Couldn't.
This isn't fair. I didn't ask for this. Neither did I, Riley said softly. But here we are. Silence stretched between them like a live wire. Then, quietly, almost unwillingly, Sophia said, I had another dream. Riley's expression shifted. What did you see?
A tower.
Made of obsidian. You were there.
But it wasn't you.
Your eyes were black. Your voice was different. That wasn't a dream, Riley said, voice tightening. That's a memory. From the first cycle. Sophia's knees went weak. Cycle. We've done this before. Over and over.
Reborn.
Rebound. Rebroken. And in that life, I failed you worse than ever before. What happened? Riley hesitated. You died because of me. Sophia looked at her, eyes blazing. You keep saying that. But what does it mean? How could I die because of you? Riley looked away. Because I chose power. Over you. Because I let them take you. Sophia stepped back, shaking her head.
No. That's not me.
That's not us.
But it was.
And now something's awakening again. The tower. The mark. The prophecy. Prophecy. Sophia laughed, but it sounded brittle. You've got to be kidding me. I wish I were. Riley walked to the window, her silhouette framed by the electric storm rolling in outside. They think you're the key to stopping it. The unraveling. That's why they're watching you. That's why the bond pulled you back to me. So, I'm a weapon now? No, Riley said fiercely, turning back. You're everything. And that terrifies them. Sophia's mind was spinning. I need air. Sophia, don't.
Please.
I can't breathe when you look at me like that. Riley didn't follow her. Maybe she knew better. Maybe she was breaking too. Sophia fled into the storm. Rain poured down in sheets, soaking her within seconds. But she didn't stop. She ran until the facility was just a blur of lights behind her.
She needed to think.
To feel something that wasn't dictated by fate or prophecy, or cycles she never agreed to. She stopped at the edge of the forest that bordered the grounds, chest heaving, heart racing, mark burning like wildfire under her skin. Thunder cracked overhead. And then the scent returned metallic.
Wrong.
Not part of the storm. A whisper brushed her ear.
Not a sound.
A feeling. Found you. Sophia spun, but no one was there. Her mark flared painfully. Her knees buckled. And then hands, strong, calloused, grabbed her just before she hit the ground. I told you not to run, Riley growled, rain sliding down her face, her grip tight, protective. How did you find me? Because I always do. You felt it,
Yes.
and I felt them. Someone's close. Watching. Sophia's pulse thundered. What do they want? Riley didn't answer. She just pulled Sophia into her arms, holding her like the world might shatter if she let go. We need to leave.
Now.
Leave? Where? Somewhere they can't track us. Somewhere the bond can't be used against you. Used how? Riley met her gaze, and her eyes were no longer calm. They were fire. They want to force a fracture. Break the bond. Rip it apart. That's possible?
Yes.
But it'll kill you. Sophia stared at her, breathless. Then don't let them. I won't, Riley whispered. Not again. And for the first time, Sophia let herself collapse against her. Not because she was weak, but because something inside her had finally surrendered to the truth. She didn't want to fight Riley anymore. Not when the world was preparing to do it for her. The forest swallowed them whole. Wet leaves slapped against Sophia's skin as they ran, their breath visible in the cold air, footsteps muffled by the thick underbrush. Riley led the way, never looking back, but Sophia could feel the tension in her body. Every muscle taut, every movement calculated. She was guiding them through the darkness like she had done this before, like she knew exactly where to go, and somehow, Sophia didn't question it. Her lungs burned. Her clothes were soaked. But the adrenaline, the bond, the fire in her chest, it kept her upright, kept her running. Eventually, they reached an abandoned observation cabin deep within the forest, half consumed by moss and time. Riley pushed the door open with her shoulder and ushered Sophia inside. The silence was immediate, deafening after the storm. We'll be safe here. For now, Riley muttered, bolting the door behind them. What was that? Sophia demanded, still panting. Who's after us? Riley lit a lantern on a dusty shelf, casting golden light across the room. Not who. What? Stop being cryptic, Riley. I've had enough riddles to last me 3 lifetimes. Riley turned to her, eyes burning with something between fear and fury. They're called Reavers, entities that hunt bonded pairs. They feed off the energy of soul connections. We don't know where they came from, but they've been growing stronger over the last decade. You waking up, us reconnecting. It sent out a signal. Now they know where you are. Sophia felt her stomach drop. And the facility? Compromised. They'll try to contain it.
Use you as bait, maybe.
That's why we had to leave. Sophia's chest heaved as she sank into the nearest chair, arms trembling. So now I'm being hunted by monsters because some ancient system thinks we belong together. It's not about belonging, Riley said softly. It's about survival. You think this bond will save me? I know it will. Riley crossed the room and knelt in front of her. Because it's not just some mystical connection. It's power, energy, one the Reavers can't consume unless it's fractured. That's why they want to break us. Because together, we're untouchable. Sophia looked down at her hands. And apart?
You die.
I die. Or worse. What could be worse than dying? Forgetting. Riley's voice was barely a whisper. Losing you in every lifetime, over and over, like you never existed. I've lived that. I can't do it again. The silence pressed between them, heavy with unsaid truths. Sophia's mark pulsed faintly under her sleeve. So did Riley's. In sync. Sophia reached out slowly, hesitantly, her fingertips brushing Riley's wrist. The glow intensified. A warmth spread through her body, not from the contact, but from something deeper, like her very soul recognized Riley's presence. I hated you, she said quietly. I know, Riley replied. I hated how perfect you were. How you made me feel like I was always one step behind. You never were. Then why did I always feel like I was chasing something I couldn't catch? Riley exhaled shakily. Because you were trying to run from what you already had. Their eyes locked. The room felt too small. The air too thick. Sophia's hand slid up Riley's arm before she realized what she was doing. She should have pulled away, should have said something sharp. But instead, she let her fingers linger, let herself feel it, this terrifying gravity pulling them together. "Is this the bond talking?" she asked. "Or is it me?" Riley's voice was raw. "I don't know anymore. I stopped trying to tell the difference the day you stopped breathing." Something in Sophia shattered. She leaned forward before she could think better of it, closing the space between them in a single breathless second. Her lips met Riley's like a memory, familiar, aching, inevitable. Riley froze for half a heartbeat, then kissed her back with a desperation that made Sophia's head spin. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was messy and painful and real. Years of tension poured into it. Every argument, every stolen glance, every lifetime of loss and longing. Riley pulled her closer, their bodies pressed tight, marks burning against each other like twin flames. Sophia gasped into her mouth as a surge of energy passed between them, a flash of something ancient and uncontainable. The room around them trembled. Wood creaked. Dust fell from the beams. Sophia broke the kiss, panting, eyes wide. "What was that?" "The bond," Riley whispered. "It just locked. Locked. Irreversible. Final. You chose me." "I didn't, you did. Your soul did. There's no one doing it now." Sophia staggered back, overwhelmed, dazed. "And if I regret it?" Riley flinched. "Then we're both doomed." But Sophia wasn't sure she did. Regret it, that is. Because even through the fear and the madness and the uncertainty, that kiss had felt more real than anything else since she'd woken up. It had felt like truth. And yet, she wasn't ready to say that out loud. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She turned away, arms folded tight. "We need a plan." Riley nodded, voice clipped. "There's a safe house in the next town, run by someone I trust. She knows about Reavers. She'll help us." "How far?" 20 kilometers. "We'll leave at dawn." They didn't speak again that night. Sophia lay on a threadbare mattress in the corner, staring at the ceiling while Riley kept watch by the door, weapon in her lap, eyes never fully closing. Neither of them slept. But the silence between them had changed. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was humming, waiting. And sometime before sunrise, Sophia whispered into the dark, "Riley? Yeah. If I die again, you won't. But if I do, don't stop remembering me." Riley's voice cracked. "I never could." When dawn came, they were already gone. The sun was a weak smear behind gray clouds when they left the cabin, moving fast and silent through the forest. The rain had stopped, but the trees still dripped, and every branch that snapped underfoot felt like a threat. Sophia didn't speak. Her body ached from exhaustion, her thoughts tangled in a storm of sensation, memory, and something sharper, something that wasn't hers but felt embedded in her bones. The kiss haunted her. Not just the warmth of Riley's mouth or the sound she'd made when Sophia leaned in, but the after. The crackle in the air, the way the walls had trembled. Something had shifted, something permanent. Riley hadn't touched her since, hadn't even looked at her longer than necessary. But Sophia could feel her. Every breath, every thought, like a whisper at the edge of her consciousness, like a heartbeat next to her own. The bond was no longer a theory. It was alive, and it had teeth. After nearly 4 hours of hiking, the trees finally broke into a wide, abandoned field dotted with rusted cars and overgrown grass. In the distance, Sophia could see the silhouette of a town. "We're close," Riley said, her voice low. "The safe house is under a tea shop. My contact's name is Etta. She's complicated but loyal." "You trust her?" Sophia asked. "With my life. And now yours." That last part hit harder than it should have. Riley said it like a promise, like a vow she'd already made, without needing permission. Sophia looked away. "Do you feel it?" she asked quietly. "The bond." "Constantly. It's getting stronger." Riley nodded once. "Too fast. It's supposed to take months. Yours is accelerating." "Ours." Riley's jaw tightened.
Right. Ours.
Sophia frowned. You sound like that's a bad thing. It's not bad. It's dangerous. For us. For everyone around us. Sophia didn't ask what she meant. She already knew. Something inside her was waking up. And the more Riley looked at her like she meant something, the more Sophia felt like she wasn't the same person who had opened her eyes in that hospital bed. She was changing, becoming something else. Something she didn't yet understand. That night, they reached the tea shop just before curfew. The streets were quiet, the town small and old, with worn bricks and faded lights that flickered against the damp fog. Riley knocked 3 times, then twice, then once more in rapid succession. The door opened instantly. Took you long enough, the woman said. She was tall and sharp-eyed, with silver-streaked hair pulled into a messy knot and fingers stained with herbs and ink. You brought the girl? Sophia, Riley said. She has a name. They always do. Etta stepped back and let them in. The shop smelled like clove and ash. Rows of dried plants hung from the ceiling. A cat watched them from a shelf with yellow eyes that didn't blink. Sophia followed Riley down a spiral staircase hidden behind a curtain, into a room lit with low golden lamps and lined with books, maps, and protective wards carved into the stone. You weren't kidding, Sophia murmured. Riley didn't smile. This is one of the few places the Reavers can't reach. Not easily. Etta followed them down, carrying a tray with steaming mugs. You'll need to stay hidden for a few days. There's talk of a rift opening nearby. If that happens, the bond will flare again. Stronger than before. What kind of rift? Sophia asked. A tear in the boundary between realms, Etta said calmly. One that bleeds into this world. And bonded pairs are magnets for that energy. Especially unstable ones. We're not unstable, Sophia snapped. Etta just raised an eyebrow. Sweetheart, you're glowing. Sophia looked down. Her mark was lit up beneath her skin like a flame, pulsing faster than before. Riley's was the same. That's not supposed to happen unless... You're sinking again, Etta finished for her. Involuntarily. Which means either your bond is evolving faster than your minds can handle, or something is pushing it. Sophia's hands trembled. What happens if it goes too far? You lose yourself. One or both of you. The bond collapses. Or consumes. Riley stepped in, her voice like steel. We won't let that happen. Then you'd better start training, Etta said, setting the tea down. Because she doesn't even know how to shield yet. Shield, Sophia echoed. Mental barriers. Emotional walls. You're wide open right now. She can feel you. You can feel her. That's not romantic. It's dangerous. Sophia flushed, but Etta wasn't done. If she gets hurt, you'll feel it. If you get angry, she might lose control. It's not connection. It's exposure. Sophia looked at Riley, whose face was unreadable. We need to learn, she said. Riley nodded. Then we start now. The next 3 days were brutal. Etta didn't go easy on them. They trained in the basement, surrounded by runes and burning incense, learning how to channel the energy of the bond, how to direct it instead of letting it consume them. Sophia discovered she could light candles with a flick of thought if she focused on Riley's presence. She could move objects. She could see echoes of Riley's emotions, colors in the air, shapes in the light. And Riley? Riley could sense Sophia's thoughts before she spoke them, could shield her from pain, could anchor her when she felt like she was slipping into something she didn't recognize. They fought. Of course they did. The pressure was unbearable. Sometimes Sophia hated how much Riley could see, how exposed she felt, and other times she didn't speak of, she didn't want Riley to look away. On the 4th night, Sophia had a dream she couldn't wake from.
Fire.
Screams. A stone circle. Her own voice calling out a name that wasn't Riley, but was. She woke up gasping, sobbing, drenched in sweat, and Riley was already there, arms around her, murmuring something in a language Sophia didn't understand but felt in her blood. It's okay, Riley whispered. You're here. I've got you. I've got you. Sophia clung to her, shaking.
I saw you die again.
I felt it. It wasn't real.
It was.
I felt it in my body. I watched you burn. That was another life. Not this one. Sophia pulled back just far enough to meet her eyes. Promise me this time is different. Riley's voice cracked. It already is. Sophia kissed her again.
Slower. Softer.
Not because she was trying to escape, but because for the first time she wasn't. She wasn't running anymore. Not from Riley. Not from the bond. Not from herself. But outside, the air shifted. Something vast and cold rippled through the night, like a warning. The rift was coming. And it had already found her name. The moment the rift opened, Sophia felt it like a scream inside her chest. Not sound, not light, something more primal, more violent. A tearing sensation, like a piece of her had been unstitched from the world. She fell to her knees in the middle of the safe house floor, gasping, her mark flaring with blinding heat beneath her skin. Riley was at her side in seconds, arms wrapped around her, anchoring her to the now. It's here, Sophia choked out. I can feel it, Riley. It's inside me. Riley's grip tightened. You're connected to the bond. Of course you feel it. It's pulling on you. Why me? Because you woke up. Because you're the key. Etta burst into the room, robes half-wrapped, hands glowing with protective runes. We have to move.
Now.
The rift is expanding too fast. My wards won't hold long. Where do we go? Riley asked. There's a sanctum beneath the city. It's shielded. But you'll have to get her through the tear first. Through it?
Sophia cried.
You want me to enter that thing? You're already bound to it. There's no other way to sever its reach unless you confront it. Confront what, exactly? Whatever's looking for you. Sophia looked at Riley, panic rising. I'm not ready. You are, Riley said, voice firm. Because I'll be with you.
Sophia wanted to believe that.
She wanted to believe that love, whatever this fragile, fierce, aching thing was growing between them, was enough to carry them through a doorway carved out of chaos. But deep down, something colder whispered, this isn't about love. This is about who you really are. They left the safe house under cover of fog, moving through silent alleys toward the edge of the rift. It wasn't hard to find. The sky above it had split like glass under pressure, jagged and glowing, bleeding light that was somehow both gold and void. The air shimmered around it. Time bent. Space curled. And Sophia's mark was a sun beneath her skin. It's calling you, Riley said quietly. Why? Because you were never just a match. You were a catalyst. Etta raised her hands and began chanting under her breath, carving symbols into the air that floated and glowed, wrapping around Sophia like armor. This will shield your mind, but it won't protect your heart. Too late for that, Sophia muttered. Riley touched her wrist, her thumb brushing the pulse point where their marks glowed in sync. Once you go in, you'll see everything. Every life. Every death. Every version of us. How do I know I won't lose myself in it? Riley stepped closer. Because I'll be right behind you. Sophia nodded once, then stepped forward. The rift opened without resistance. It wanted her. The moment she crossed the threshold, reality dissolved. She was everywhere and nowhere. 1,000 memories unfolded at once. Hers, not hers. Fragments of lifetimes where she wore different faces, spoke different tongues, but always, always, there was Riley. Sometimes a soldier. Sometimes a queen. Sometimes a stranger in the crowd. But never far. Never gone. And always ending in fire. Sophia fell through images, one after the other, until her feet hit solid ground. She stood in a field of ash beneath a blood-red sky. Across from her stood a figure cloaked in shadow. Not Riley. Not human. It wore the shape of a woman, but its eyes were endless void. Its voice came from everywhere at once. You've returned. What are you? The one who waits. The one who watches. The one who devours the bond. Why me? Because you carry the spark. Because you love her. Sophia flinched. You want to break us.
No.
I want to end the cycle. You are the last. The final bond. If you fall, there will be no more. Then I won't fall. You already are. The shadow raised a hand, and pain lanced through Sophia's body, memories slamming into her like knives. Riley dying. Riley screaming. Riley leaving. Over and over. Her knees buckled. Her mind fractured. The voice whispered again. Let go. End it. Give me the spark. No, Sophia gasped. It's not yours. Then fight me. And just when Sophia thought the void would crush her, light. A voice. I found you. Riley stepped through the rift, her body outlined in fire, eyes glowing with something ancient and impossible. The shadow shrieked. Riley raised her hand, and Sophia felt her mark explode with heat. You don't belong here, Riley said, facing the entity. She's not yours. She is everyone's. She is fate. She's mine, Riley growled. And I won't lose her again. Sophia stood barely. Her body shook. Her mind reeled. But something inside her clicked into place. We do this together, she said. Riley met her eyes. Always. They linked hands. The marks pulsed once.
Twice.
And then burst, pure energy erupting between them, wrapping around their bodies like lightning. The shadow screamed. The ground cracked. The sky tore open with sound. And from the center of it all, Sophia finally understood. She wasn't just the bond. She was the rift. The spark. The power that could end the cycle or continue it. And she chose. She chose Riley. The light engulfed them. The entity collapsed into nothing. Silence returned. They stood in the center of the field, breathing hard, hands still locked, marks dimming slowly into a soft glow. Sophia looked at Riley. Is it over? For now. Then hold me, please. Riley pulled her close, arms wrapped tight, cheek against her hair. You saved us. We saved each other. For the first time since waking, Sophia felt still, felt whole. But the world beyond the rift still waited. And whatever came next, they would face it together. The return was silent. Not triumphant, not dramatic, just breath and heartbeat and the soft pressure of Riley's hand in hers as the world rebuilt itself around them. One moment, they stood in a realm of fractured memory and cosmic fire. The next, they were back in the basement of the tea shop, the air still, the lanterns dim, and Etta staring at them like they had risen from the dead. You made it, she whispered. I wasn't sure, she trailed off. Sophia barely heard her. Her body ached, but not with pain, with power, with awareness. The mark on her wrist had changed. Still glowing, but now edged in something that shimmered like gold, like a seal burned into her very skin. Riley's was identical. They hadn't just survived the rift. They had become something else because of it. What happened in there? Etta asked. Riley's voice was hoarse. She faced it, and she chose to live.
No.
She chose you, Etta corrected, eyes narrowing. That bond is permanent now. Cosmic grade. Fully integrated. Sophia sat slowly, her breath unsteady. Then why do I feel like something is still wrong? Because it is, Etta said. A bond that's strong doesn't go unnoticed. You just declared your existence to every entity that feeds on connections like yours. You didn't close the rift, Sophia. You claimed it. Riley stiffened beside her. We need to leave. Find somewhere safe. There's nowhere safe anymore. Etta interrupted. Not for the two of you. Not when you shine like that. Sophia looked down at her hands. They shimmered faintly, like the energy hadn't fully settled. Her skin tingled, like lightning had stitched itself under the surface. And then the realization hit her. This is permanent. No more pretending. No more running. No more separation between who she had been and who she was now. The rift had marked her as something else entirely. And she didn't want to go back. Not if it meant losing Riley. That night, they stayed in a hidden room above the shop, surrounded by layers of shielding runes and silent spells. The world outside was too quiet, as if waiting, watching. Sophia lay awake long after midnight, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts like tangled wires sparking in the dark. Riley stood by the window, looking out, her arms folded, her body tense like a coiled spring. "You don't have to protect me from the truth," Sophia said suddenly. "Not anymore." Riley turned slowly. "What truth?" "That you're afraid. That you don't know what's coming. That this bond, whatever it is, terrifies you as much as it terrifies me." Riley didn't answer right away. Then she walked over, sat on the edge of the bed, and said, "You're right. I'm scared. But not of what's out there. I'm scared of failing you. Again." Sophia reached out, her fingers brushing Riley's. "You didn't fail me. I always lose you. Not this time." Their hands entwined. The room pulsed softly with heat. Sophia leaned in. Her forehead touched Riley's. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. "Always. Even when I hated you. Even when I loved you." The kiss was slow. No fire this time. No desperation. Just truth. Just breath. Just the quiet ache of finally letting go. Sophia melted into her, into the warmth of Riley's mouth, the gentle press of her hand at Sophia's waist, the slow, deliberate way Riley touched her like she was memorizing every part of her. And Sophia let her. She kissed her back with everything she had, every memory, every heartbeat, every echo of every life that had ended too soon. Her body hummed with energy, not wild now, but alive. Present. Anchored. Their marks glowed together, casting soft light on the walls as they moved, bodies drawn to each other like planets locked in orbit. Clothes fell away. Skin met skin. There was no urgency, only reverence. Sophia arched under Riley's touch, her fingers tangling in dark hair, her breath catching as Riley whispered her name like it was a vow. And when they came together, it was like the universe held its breath. The room shivered. Light danced on the ceiling. And Sophia felt herself open, not just physically, but entirely.
Soul to soul.
Thought to thought. Riley's emotions surged through her, love, fear, awe, devotion. And Sophia gave hers back, unfiltered, unafraid. They stayed like that for a long time, twined together, hearts sinking, bodies warm. And when Riley finally pulled her close, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat, Sophia whispered, "What happens now?" Riley brushed her thumb across Sophia's cheek. "Now we prepare. Because they're coming. The Reavers.
Worse.
The ones who created them." Sophia blinked. "There's more?" The rift wasn't the end. It was the door. And we unlocked it. So what do we do? Riley's eyes burned. "We fight. We survive. And we stay together." Sophia nodded slowly. "Then no matter what comes, I'm not letting go." Outside, the stars flickered strangely. The night air grew colder. And in the farthest reaches of the sky, something vast and ancient turned its attention toward them. Sophia didn't look away. Not anymore. Because she wasn't running. Not from Riley. Not from fate. Not even from the monsters. This time, she was ready to burn for the woman she loved. And to make the world burn if it tried to take her away. The world burned. Not with flame, but with light. Pale, blinding, celestial. It tore through the sky in jagged fractures, bleeding through the clouds like divine rage, illuminating the forest below in ghostly silver. Sophia stood at the center of it all, her feet rooted to cracked earth, her body glowing with the same ancient energy that had been surging through her veins since the rift. Beside her, Riley stood steady, a blade of light in one hand and her other curled protectively around Sophia's. Their marks pulsed in perfect unison, brighter than ever, casting golden rings of heat that pushed back the advancing dark. And advancing it was. The sky had opened. The Reavers had come through, and not just them. This time something older, larger had followed. Sophia could feel it in her spine, her blood, her soul. The architects of the rift. The creators of the bond system. Not gods. Not demons. Just watchers. Engineers of fate. For eons, they had manipulated connections between souls, building and breaking pair after pair, feeding off the energy of unresolved love, of tragedy, of yearning. They didn't want harmony. They wanted hunger. And Sophia and Riley had starved them. They had chosen each other. Fully. Without tragedy. Without sacrifice. That was the rebellion. That was the threat. They're afraid, Riley said, her voice firm despite the roar above them. Of us. Good, Sophia replied. They should be. A wave of darkness surged toward them, cloaked in reavers, in shadows that screamed without mouths. Sophia raised her hand. The mark blazed. Light exploded from her palm, carving through the oncoming force like a blade. Riley moved beside her, fast and fluid, her strikes precise, her power focused through the bond like an extension of Sophia's will. They moved as one, danced through the battlefield in sync, like two halves of the same storm. Sophia no longer questioned what she was. She felt it now, fully awake. Not just a woman who had survived a coma. Not just a girl pulled into a fate she didn't choose. She was the culmination of every version of herself. Every death, every love, every pain had led here. And Riley was her anchor, her equal, her fury, her peace. The battle raged, but the tide was turning. The reavers fell. The sky cracked louder. And then it appeared. A shape so vast it bent the horizon. Not flesh, not metal, not even shadow. It simply was. A presence that had no name. A mind too large for a body. A will that stretched across galaxies. The architect. The origin of the system. It descended without sound. And when it spoke, it did not use words. It entered. Sophia staggered as her thoughts blurred, images flashing through her mind. Thousands of pairs, lifetimes of matches forged and shattered, energy harvested, love stolen. And at the core of it, her. Not by design, by defiance. The anomaly. The mistake that became prophecy. You were not meant to last, the voice echoed inside her skull. You were meant to fracture. Then your system is broken, she said aloud, her voice rippling across the field. Because I'm still here. And I'm not alone. The architect shifted, its form tightening like a storm before release. One bond cannot end us. No, Riley called, stepping beside her. But this one will. She took Sophia's hand again. Their marks merged. The gold became white. The white became fire. The fire became truth. Sophia saw it all at once. Every cycle. Every version of them. Every time they had loved and lost. But this time was different. This time, she remembered. And with that memory came power. She pulled it into herself. Not just magic, but purpose. A clarity she had never known. She looked at the architect and spoke with a voice not entirely her own. We are not yours. The light erupted. A wave that didn't just destroy, it unmade. The architect screamed, and the sound was like a million stars dying. Riley wrapped her arms around Sophia as the world trembled, and Sophia buried her face in Riley's neck and held on. Together, they stood through the end. And when the silence came, it was absolute. The sky cleared. The rift closed. The world was still. Sophia blinked slowly. Her body ached, but not in pain, in release. She turned and saw Riley watching her, breathless, lips parted, eyes wide. Did we? Yeah, Riley said softly. We won. We're still alive. You're damn right we are. Sophia laughed, shaky, wild, real. And then she threw her arms around Riley and kissed her like the world wasn't watching. Because this time it wasn't. This time it was theirs. They stayed like that for a long time, kissing slowly, gently, like the battle had carved a space for softness at last. When they finally pulled apart, Riley leaned her forehead against Sophia's. What now? We live, Sophia whispered. We live every version of ourselves we never got to. All of them. With you. And the bond. It's not a prison anymore. It's home. They left the battlefield with fingers entwined. The world was quiet.
Healing.
A new sun rising over fresh earth. The Watchers were gone. The system dismantled. The fate machine broken. And, in its place, choice. Love. Chosen freely. A story no longer scripted by loss. Sophia looked at Riley, sunlight painting gold across her features. Do you remember the first time you ever looked at me? Riley smiled. Of course. You were furious. I'd stolen your thesis topic. You didn't steal it. Didn't I? You crushed it. Just to spite me. Maybe. I hated you. And I loved you, Riley whispered. Even then. Sophia leaned in again, kissed her softly. Then let's stop wasting time. Let's make this life the one we keep. And they did. Against fate. Against fear. Against every force that ever tried to break them. Sophia and Riley built a life not out of what they were told to be, but what they chose to become. Lovers. Fighters. Soulmates, not by destiny, but by decision. And this time, there was no fire. No fall. No goodbye. Only light.